There are yet more reasons to worry about our economic future. Now, a Chinese manufacturer has withdrawn from building a battery factory for electric cars near Yavozhno. The other is waiting for the green light from the government. On top of that, there is a lack of expert opinion regarding the Central Communications Hub, or CPK. Finally, Intel's investment in Poland is also in question. Why? Today, I'm taking a look. What you say about the car brand Izera is at base a larger question. Your question really asks whether we will continue certain projects initiated by the previous Law and Justice government. Politicians don't know what to do next. Key issues related to acquiring land for the investment, securing financing from the National Investment Fund, finalising the agreement with a Chinese company to build a battery factory for Polish electric cars in Poland are still ahead of us. No decisions have been made at the level of the new government. Meanwhile, another Chinese company has withdrawn, as reported by the mayor of Yavozhno. The CATL company is looking into locating its production facilities here with us in the Yavozhno Economic Zone or in Lower Silesia. In the end, nothing was achieved as the waiting time for the required amount of electrical energy was too long. I will add that batteries produced by CATL power modern electric vehicles. If we, as the Polish auto industry, do not participate in this race for electrification, if successive investors pull out of our market, then we lose our position even further in this giant auto market. Time is running inexorably, and Donald Tusk's government is talking about renegotiating contracts. A similar fate may befall Intel's component factory in Poland. In addition to the former, the Law and Justice government wanted to spend $1.5 billion on a factory for microprocessors. Intel, in turn, would invest nearly $4.6 billion. This would have been the largest direct foreign investment in Poland's history. Law and Justice talks about investment, while successors talk about Byzantium. The fact that I, in a moment, will be attending a debate regarding the CPK, that's where we had Byzantium. There we had money that was transferred to various places. Most doubts and already big delays concern precisely the construction of the CPK. Today at the Prime Minister's office, the former government plenipotentiary on the matter sought the expert reports cited by Donald Tusk. All the expert opinions to date, with which we were able to familiarise ourselves, left many question marks, both in terms of input data as well as output data. What expertise was he referring to? And whose authorship? Ladies and gentlemen, we are just leaving the discussions and there were no experts present, nor was the Prime Minister present. There are no expert reports in the Chancellery, but there is an open tender for an audit, that is, to check the legitimacy of spending on the CPK. There are already 2 bids, one for $500,000 zloty. Before the government reviews and decides what to do with the investment started by its predecessors, it will therefore spend more money, our taxpayers' money. Editor Holdinska, Republic Television. The European Union welcomed Poland's Justice Minister Adam Bodnar in Brussels this afternoon and praised his new plan to restore the rule of law and dismantle policies held by the former nationalist government, which led to the freezing of billions of euros in EU funds due to concerns over judicial independence. Bodnar said the reaction to the plan from member states had been very positive after he presented it to his counterparts at today's meeting. The deputy head of the European Commission, Vera Jourova, also said the response was positive and called the action plan realistic and an action plan that should restore the independence of the judiciary, which she said was at stake. Poland's Law and Justice Party, which ruled for 8 years, carried out a deep overhaul of the judiciary, which the European Union said damaged democratic checks and balances and brought courts under political influence. On the other hand, many say that this so-called restoration of the rule of law in Poland is in reality just a restoration of EU control over the Polish judiciary, and hence all the smiling faces at the European Commission today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm what the Minister just said, that there was bardzo pozytywna reakcja at the Council, because you can imagine after 6 years of discussions about the Polish judiciary reform and the whole situation, we heard today from Minister Bodnar, I believe, realistic plan, the action plan which should restore independence of judiciary, which is at stake.
As a result of disputes between the Commission and Poland's previous government, the European Commission had held back billions of dollars in euros in funds earmarked for Poland, just as it did and still does in the case of Hungary. Poland's new government, however, still faces resistance from law and justice supporters and allies, who include President Andrzej Duda and some high-profile judges, to reverse the changes and resolve the dispute. Supporters of Julian Assange gathered outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London as the WikiLeaks founder began a two-day hearing to fight his extradition to the United States. Assange, an Australian native, has been detained in Belmarsh prison for nearly 5 years following an extradition decision made in 2022 by the then UK Home Secretary, Priti Patel. As the hearing commenced, Assange's lawyers informed the court that he would not be attending due to his poor health. Nevertheless, his wife, Stella Assange, stated in a recent press conference that if the appeal fails, Julian would seek relief from the European Court of Human Rights. Despite his absence, the area surrounding the court was adorned with golden ribbons bearing messages advocating for Assange's freedom. Protesters, waving Australian flags and holding placards with slogans like "Free Julian Assange" and "Drop the Charges," passionately voiced their opposition to his extradition. Chants of "There is only one decision, no extradition," and US-UK hands off Assange echoed through the crowd. Stella Assange addressed the supporters, urging them to continue their demonstration until Julian is released. She emphasised the global significance of his case, asserting, "Julian needs freedom, and we all need the truth." She also likened Assange's case to that of Alexei Navalny in Russia. Just before the hearings began, she told reporters that Assange's fate may mirror that of Navalny should he be extradited to the United States.
This case is an admission by the United States that they now criminalize investigative journalism. It's an attack on all journalists all over the world. It's an attack on the truth, and it's an attack on the public's right to know. Julian is a political prisoner, and his life is at risk. What happened to Navalny can happen to Julian. He has to be released. This farce has to end. Thank you.
Other speakers, including Tim Dawson from the International Federation of Journalists, underscored the broader implications of Assange's prosecution on journalism and free speech. Assange faces 17 charges of espionage and 1 charge of computer misuse in the United States, which could result in a prison term of up to 175 years if convicted. His defence argues that extradition would constitute punishment for his political beliefs and violate his right to free speech. The case has garnered international attention, with supporters viewing Assange as a symbol of press freedom, while critics argue his actions endangered lives and compromised national security. Assange, known for his involvement in leaking classified material, including video footage of a United States helicopter attack. Assange's legal battles began in 2010, and he subsequently spent 7 years holed up in Ecuador's embassy in London before he was dragged out and jailed in 2019 for breaching bail conditions. He has been held in a maximum security jail in southeast London ever since, even getting married there. Despite various rulings and appeals, his extradition fate remains uncertain to this day. Hollywood celebrities had their chance to weigh in on the fate of Alexei Navalny at a charity gala in Berlin last night. The Cinema for Peace gala, organised on the sidelines of the annual Berlin Film Festival, was attended by Hollywood A-listers Sharon Stone and Helen Mirren, as well as filmmakers and activists. Nadia Tolokonnikova, the co-founder of the feminist opposition group Pussy Riot, and a friend of the late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, said his death had given her a new sense of responsibility to fight for justice. Sharon Stone said she was attending the event to introduce former United States Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who, alongside former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Pope Francis, was being honoured at the gala ceremony. The event, in its 21st year, is organised by the Cinema for Peace Foundation, which aims to foster change through film and raise awareness for humanitarian causes. "The secret of peace is walking in other people's shoes, of having an understanding," Mirren said on the red carpet ahead of the ceremony, revealing that she had tattooed 2 equal letter V's on her hand to remind herself of the equality of people despite their differences. Filmmaker Guy Nativ took the opportunity to remind us that Jewish people all over the world are also suffering.
Very important for me, I'm a grandchild to Holocaust survivors, and to have Helen here with Golda again to talk about the significance of anti-Semitism and how it's infected the world, especially after October 7th. For me, as a Jewish person who lives in the States, it's very, very important.
Tolokonnikova, who formed part of the 2020 drive by Cinema for Peace to bring Navalny to Germany for treatment after he was poisoned, said the day had been a very dark day for her, but that she believed Navalny would want her to keep fighting. Tolokonnikova was designated a foreign agent by Russia in 2021. The Prince of Wales called on Tuesday for an end to the fighting in Gaza, saying the sheer scale of human suffering had brought home the need for peace in an enclave where too many have been killed. In an unusually direct intervention by a member of the royal family, Prince William, the heir to the British throne, said it was critical that aid got through to those suffering in Gaza and that Hamas must release the hostages. I remain deeply concerned about the terrible human cost of the conflict in the Middle East since Hamas' terrorist attack on the 7th of October. Too many have been killed, Prince William said in a written statement. The statement came after the Prince of Wales visited the London headquarters of the British Red Cross, where he learned about the humanitarian efforts taking place to support those in the Middle East affected by the conflict. In 2018, Prince William became the first senior British royal to make an official visit to Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, and since then he has followed the region closely, his office said. Kensington Palace added that Britain's Foreign Office had been briefed about William's statement before he made it.